Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Man, there's so much that I want to try to confine into a short sharing. We were never meant to communicate language in a way that divides us. You watch YouTube, you see people talking bad about people. You see every person posting videos and talking bad about other people. You see politics, you see sports, you see conspiracy theory, exposing theory, where people are saying bad things about other people, or people are exposing the bad things in other people. That is not a good thing, because our words were meant to unite us. Our words were meant to help us to understand us. Because when we understand us, when we understand ourselves, when we understand others, we can relate to us better, and we can help us in the areas that we struggle. Most people who have the answer to another person's struggle usually sees the struggle more than anyone else does. But that is because they have the answer to the struggle. If they choose to just expose the problem, then they leave that person with an exposed struggle. A struggle that we just say this is a bad person because they did this. And we overlook our own struggles and how we have overcome our struggles, how we have gotten better. We overlook the mercy, the forgiveness, the learning that we needed to unlock ourselves in a better quality. This is important for us to stop talking about people, stop watching videos that talk about people. I know it is entertaining because I have struggled with watching these videos my doggone self. My dang self. I have struggled with watching people talk about people, even though I don't talk about people myself. I have watched it because it is quite entertaining to find out what someone is doing, whether it's wrong or right. YouTube is interesting. YouTube is interesting to hear about someone's issues. Some of the paparazzi videos or paparazzi magazines that you see in Kroger and Walmart that are on the end cap at the checkout lane. Oh, Barack Obama had an affair with President Trump is racist, or Michael Jackson did this to this person, you know. We live in such a judgmental way of seeing each other, not knowing that we are each other. The golden rule is to do unto others as you want others to do unto you. Why? Because when you are loving your neighbor, you're loving yourself. Love your neighbor as yourself. Don't love your neighbor like you love yourself. Love your neighbor because they are you. If you zoom into your human body and you see this human body and the blood cells that are, if you just go into one cell, zoom in, and how science is able to do that, you go into the one cell and you zoom in and you see all these different systems that are at work, that are partnering. That is what we call life, right? If you zoom out, you see one body, but zoom out even more, you see all these systems of people driving, people living, people going about their day, right? This is a system called life. It's another dimension of life. If you go inside your body, you see all these organs, all these different things, right? If you go inside your soul, your being, you see these systems that are at work called your spirit, your I am, your heart, which is your I feel, your motives, you know, the intents of your heart, your logic, your mind, which is your intelligence, your carrying out a thing, you know, your server, you know, kind of like you got a monitor and a hard drive of a computer. Like the monitor is the functioning capacity, but the hard drive is a storage capacity. You know, so you got this, and then you got the body that carries it all out. So my spirit discerns something to share. I am discerns something to share in my heart. That's stored up this information that now my mind is communicating it through my body that's functioning through technology to you. So there's so many different systems, and you're not just you. You're not just a person. You're not just a individual trying to get by, trying to go to work, trying to survive, trying to do you. There's no such thing as that. If I got a red blood cell, if I interview a red blood cell, and they say, I'm just trying to do me, do me, I'm doing my thing. Tired of y'all, tired of blood cells. You know, it can't disconnect from its identity. In the same way, you can't disconnect from love. You can't disconnect from your identity. Saying that, man, I was, all right, so, saying that, when we see our communication, when we see how we relate to each other, it's important to invest in the investment towards humanity, in the betterment of humanity. If you're watching things that's like dividing humanity, odds are you're supporting that, and now you're fueling that to remain. If nobody watched these videos, they would no longer be posted, or if they are posted, they would no longer influence society because it's not mainstream. Mainstream is mainstream because we are the ones who are fueling it with our observation. And it's not easy because these algorithms on YouTube causes you to watch, and what you watch, even if you make a mistake in watching, they're sending more to you. Now it's like a hamster wheel. You eat something that's good, and now it's coming to your door. Now it's like, you hungry, it's the first thing that comes to you, you're gonna eat it. Now it's gonna keep coming to you without you making a choice to choose. And I've been an addict to YouTube and all these different things, watching people hurt people and divide each other. And so I've experienced firsthand being a supporter of this way of being, this way of seeing each other, this way of relating to each other. And it's got to stop, but it stops with us, the observer. It's the diet that we choose that determines the product that is revealed to society. You know, about to say something. Man, this is a lot. I forgot what I was about to say. But yeah, it's essential that we feed on. Oh yeah, okay. Right. Thank you. So, man, this is good, man. So, okay, side note, it's good to express out of delight in the light, because that's, it's something about it that I'm not motivated to, like, I'm not feeling like I gotta be somebody or be something. I could be my organic self. I could be like a child because I'm organically expressing. So, side note. But when you go to grocery stores, and sorry, this isn't something on my face. This is gray hair. When you go to grocery stores, you see products, right? You don't see how the products are, how the money that you're contributing is generating to the investors, who most likely are very rich people. Both investors in the facilitator, right? The facilitator, which is Walmart, Meijer, Kroger. These facilitators are fueled by investors who also the product, Coca-Cola, whatever. These individual products are fueled by investors who are generating, taking your money, and if you like visualize going into the grocery store and contributing your money and seeing the streams of your income, of the money that you're contributing for your needs, going out and going into the pockets of these rich men who are storing up riches. If you think about that, wouldn't you want, if you could choose between your money going to an individual rich man versus your money being generated into better jobs, more money for people to work who are working at these grocery stores, who now they can have better benefits. The community can have lower prices because the money is not so needed to be, what is it called? Money doesn't need to be given to a lot of people and investors, so that product can be lower. Lower prices, helpful for society, and now this money that's being stored within this environment, this organism, now the money can be going out to community, where people can pay for the lowest bills in the city, help out the homeless. So imagine if there's an organism in the communities that could help communities, versus us contributing to rich men and complaining that we're struggling at work, but not knowing that we're contributing to the absorption of our resources from outside society, and we're wondering why we're not, thriving. And kind of like how the president is doing, President Trump is trying to get rid of outside resources so that because I work at General Motors, so that we can supply our country, so that the money is being generated with us, so that we have greater wealth, and America can be great. But as long as we're reaching to other nations, paying other nations for product, now they're advancing financially while we're using their product, when resources is always meant to be generated, kind of like this circle, regenerated, and so that is essential. Man, it's essential, man. It's essential that we invest And I'm just using that example of, and I wasn't even trying to use it like that, but that's like, I'm in a flow right now. I'm not smart. But this is not just essential for, how we do life in society, but it's how we relate to society. When we flood our minds with perspectives that equip us to grow divided, we find ourselves fighting in every type of conflict. And then if we look at the history of our relational conflicts, we see that our hearts have grown hardened when our hearts have always been meant to serve us and serve others, to actually bring solution to problems. But because we didn't learn the language of this Rubik's Cube of a relationship, we found ourselves growing just conflict and frustrated and just giving up. When we were meant to solve problems, we weren't meant to find the problem, talk about it, or talk about it on YouTube or whatever, so that everybody who observes it sees the problem as the problem. What if we could talk about the solution? And if we did expose the problem, like doctors, they expose the problem, right? We can tackle it like wellness doctors who say, okay, this problem is a deficiency of vitamin D, so let's flood it with vitamin D. If we can serve society that way, if we can read and watch things that serve society that way, we would grow more united as a people. There won't be different religions. There won't be different denominations, different views that divide. There will actually be supernatural understanding flooding our gateways, our gates, our perspectives, that enables us to relate on the plane of reality and not opinion. Because reality is here, but if we're in the confine of our opinion, we won't encounter it. It's like being in a submarine. That's an opinion. But when you are surrounded by this water pressing in on every side, called reality, in order to get free from that, you got to break that opinion. And the challenge is we're not willing to break our opinions. We're not willing to go through the journeys of experiencing differences, learning how to find truth in differences, learning the distinction between what's truth and what's not truth. How do we determine that? Because everybody who has differences say this is right, this is wrong. I believe differences is settled, and understanding is found relationally. When two stick it out and sharpen each other until it's like sharpen. Example, and I'm done after this. Two people, one person is, I'm just going to use an LGBTQ. That is a movement that is declaring their desires, my desire for my sexuality, right? And you got people who are in contrast to that, scientists. It says like, strict scientists, or even religious people. That's like, you can't have your desire, that desire is wrong. That's totally wrong. This is your design. So they are design oriented, they're desire oriented. These people feel this way, these people think this way. But if you sharpen and they have actually a sit down relationship and actually humble themselves to learn, they will see that this person has a quality of being that makes them more sensitive to ways of relating, that makes them a lot more adjustable in their sexuality. And what I mean by sexuality is like not a boy liking a girl, a boy liking a boy, girl. I mean like a male who's more feminine. Like me, I did a study on my test. It says I'm like 76% feminine, and the rest is masculine. Does that mean that I'm gay? Does that mean that I like boys? Does that mean, that capacity makes me able to relate according to my design, according to what I'm designed for. I need this capacity in order to relate to people. Versus a police officer type person needs the structure of design oriented in order to see black and white. So they need to, but yeah, if this person who's LGBTQ, and they learn from them, they'll learn how to have order in their design and a boundary to say, yes, I have more feminine qualities, but I don't let this feminine quality pour over into my desire for a relational, intimate relationship. And so like for me, growing up, I didn't have boundaries on my sexuality. I had a high capacity and desire to connect. I didn't have an understanding of my design of one woman, one man. One man needs one woman. I thought one man needs several women. I thought polygamy. That was my mindset. So having that mindset, it's not that I was wrong. I just didn't have order. So I had a desire to connect to everyone, any and everyone. If I just let that desire wild, I won't find myself, I won't have a boundary and order. Look at the difference between a garden and a wild forest. A wild forest cannot produce vegetation and life for others, but yet a garden can. So it's the same with these two types of people. If they sharpen, they'll find a middle ground, a bridge, to where they'll actually edify one another to now they are more understanding of different qualities, and they're not just saying man is masculine, woman is feminine. They'll understand, wow, there are feminine men in life. There are masculine women. They'll understand, wow, my design was made. I'm a man, I was made for a woman. I'm a woman, I was made for a man. They'll understand it without going overboard, without just letting the wildness free. They'll have freedom, but with discipline, with order. Every freedom has order. Driving has order. You need order in driving. You need order with everything in life. So our sexuality needs order, but yet it needs freedom. Every order needs freedom, or else it's law, it's slavery. So we need that balance, but you can't find the balance until each side learns to relate to each other, not just coexist, but settle the differences until there's understanding and truth. So so much, man, so much, but I'm done.